Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me, I've got Hoops. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Overall, everything has been going pretty good for the most part, I say. Just getting through work life and yeah, pretty much same old life routine. How's everything been going with you?
Honestly, nothing crazy this week. Yeah, honestly, nothing. Just school, work, family. Nothing too crazy. We do have a crazy good episode for you guys today, as you all know, hopefully, if you've been following the channel, we have been ranking our top 15 players by position. That's what we did for the last 5 weeks. But in this episode, not only are we getting rid of position, we're just ranking players, but we're upping the numbers. We're ranking 25 NBA players. So this is our top 25 NBA players going into this season. And I feel like we have to go through some ground rules first because, like, for sure, during our 5 weeks of ranking by position, there was obviously confusion with the positioning. That's not going to be an issue today since we're not ranking by position. But one of the biggest things that was different between my list and your list is that you did not include injured players. So I feel like that's something that we gotta just let the people know now, so it's not surprising in case they haven't seen the other um, episodes. But do you want to explain why you didn't include players like Jason Tatum or Tyrese Halliburton?
Yeah, I think that the main reason why I didn't include those guys, despite the fact they're obviously top 25 players when healthy, it's just simply due to the fact that we don't know if they're probably not gonna play. Who knows? Maybe Tatum will play a little bit tail end of the season. For example. But I feel like for the fairness of the players that are actually playing a good chunk of the season, listing the players that are hardly gonna play um almost feels a little bit like a cheat in the way, in the sense I'm not saying they don't deserve to be recognized for their talents even though they're not playing. However, I feel like labeling the players who are actually playing on the floor, I feel like for a top 25 makes a little bit more logical sense for how do we call it? I guess season purpose. It's for example, if we're saying top players of this season, I would say based on the ones that are playing a good amount, that would be the main reason why I don't include the guys that are majority injured and will be lucky to maybe play a month maximum, possibly. So, yeah, I would say more so due to the reason of these players will be playing a good amount versus those players are probably not going to play much.
Yeah, fair enough. I for sure get or understand what you're getting at. Um, Obviously, that was our biggest difference, so I didn't do that. I included players like Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum onto my list, mostly just to recognize their impressive seasons from last year. And my thought process was if they were healthy on day one of the NBA season, how would I rank them? So that's how I approached it. But I feel like we usually do an episode like this in December, uh, like uh, kind of near the midway point, where we rank 25 players. I feel like for that episode, I would do what you did for this one, where I won't include the players that are injured because I have more to base off of. Because there's been months of NBA basketball played, right? So, um, yeah, for this one for sure, I am including injured players, but uh, probably the next time we do this, I will not be doing that. But yeah, so I guess we could jump into honorable mentions. I'm assuming players that are injured are gonna be some of your honorable mentions, right? Like Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton. I don't know if you ever thought of like Damian Lillard since he was out, Kyrie, but is there any like other notable honorable mentions you want to name out before we get started?
Yeah, I would say other honorable mentions because like those guys would for sure make the list if they were not injured. So to start, there were definitely some players that were difficult cuts. Like I felt like they're very worthy of top 25, but ultimately, there were just a few other guys I felt me personally, I believe will have a better season in 2025, 2026. So these guys just barely missed the cut. But without further ado, these would be some of the players that I mentioned as honorable mentions. So first one I have as an honorable mention is De'Aaron Fox. So I was struggling. He was definitely like the last player that I had to bump off the list because like I feel like he's definitely like top 25 worthy. Ultimately, there were some guys that I felt like just barely I put the edge over him. But not to mention like De'Aaron Fox, his game is not much needed to be explained. I mean, he is a really great clutch player. At the end of the games when the teams need him, he tends to deliver. Obviously, last year he had that 3 game streak or whatever it was of like 40 plus points early in the season. So his talent is undeniable. Next player I have as an honorable mention is his former teammate, Domantas Sabonis. And Sabonis is another guy that for sure is top 25 worthy. There were a few guys that I had making the cut over him. And I will say this, maybe one of the things that overshadows a little bit is him being on a bad team, but not to mention like I think that he easily could for sure be back up on this list next year. And then I listed 2 more players as honorable mentions. Um, So one of them, James Harden. So he did pretty good last year, and I feel like he'll still be good this year. I do, however, think that he'll probably take a little bit of a step back because last year he did have like a little bit of a breakout in the sense like obviously there were the previous years Harden was good, but he wasn't really the same Harden of old. Well, last year he at least got back to the All-Star game, so like obviously that was a pretty big jump. I don't know if he necessarily makes the All-Star again this year, but I do expect him to still be good. Maybe not top 25 though. So there's that. And then one final player I wanted to mention, Jaylen Brown. So ultimately, I knocked him off because there were some other names that I feel like are going to um, pop out a bit more. Obviously, last year he had a little bit of a down season. This year is his opportunity to get back to 2023, 2024 form. Obviously, with Tatum out for most of, if not all of the season. We'll see how he does, but maybe he'll prove me wrong. At this moment, I just feel like he is right outside the edge of the top 25. So those would be my honorable mentions: De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, James Harden, and Jaylen Brown.
All right, solid list for sure. Like I feel like some of those I didn't even have on my honorable mentions list, but like they deserve a shout. Like I didn't really think about James Harden. I kind of thought of Domantas Sabonis, but like his his like play style for some reason just does not work at Sacramento, and the lack of defense as well doesn't help. So I kind of thought about him because like stat wise, like he's great. Like he could get a triple double like whenever he wants, but it doesn't really lead to much. Who else did you mention? Did I say James Harden? James Harden was a
You
good
did,
shout.
yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
one of my
Jaylen Brown and De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox. I didn't really think about De'Aaron Fox. He's like overall pretty forgettable because there's so many like great point guards in the league, and to add
That's
to
true.
that, like uh, he got traded to the Spurs, barely paid for them because he got injured. So for me, it's hard to like put him in the top 25 if like I don't even know how he's gonna be playing for the Spurs. Like, is he gonna be worse for some reason? Hopefully not. Hopefully he's great, and him and Wemby can do great things in San Antonio. But yeah, I didn't really think about him. I did think about Jaylen Brown, even though he had like a downer season last year for sure. He's definitely one of my honorable mentions, and I'm sure like now that Tatum is injured, probably stat wise he's gonna improve. Like I'm sure he's gonna have a bounce back season. Will it lead to like winning playoff basketball? I don't think so, but you know, there was a time where I thought maybe Jaylen Brown was the better player than Jason Tatum. So,
Me too.
maybe this is the time we see if that's the case, even though I doubt it at this point. So, Jaylen Brown was for sure a good shout out. He was one of my honorable mentions, and I guess I could go over. I have like four more honorable mentions that I can name off. Um, Probably my toughest one, my toughest cut was Chet Holmgren. Um, I wanted to add him, but like I think you talked about this last week. How like there's still a lot of growth that he needs to do, with in regards to his game, especially on the offensive side. Defensively, he's already like one of the best defensive players in the league, but offensively, there's still room to grow, and it's hard to do that when like he gets injured. So like last year, he was injured quite a bit for most of the season, but was there for the playoffs and was great. So I feel like I definitely want to see just more of him, and then if I'm able to see some more impressive basketball like what we saw in the playoffs, he for sure be a top 25 player. But unfortunately, he's like at 26 for me, like super close, super close. At another player I was thinking of, I feel like he would be a top 25 player as well, but because of his injuries, it's hard to justify him to justify a spot for him, and that's Zion Williamson. Now, Zion is skinny now. It's skinny Williamson now, so maybe he'll come through for once and play a good amount of games and actually be there for the playoffs and lead the Pelicans to like a decent seed, even if that's like the eighth seed. That's still a W for the Pelicans. But at this point, it's wishful thinking to ask for that from Zion. So talent wise, he is a top 25 player, but because he's like barely on the floor, I had to cut him from the list, unfortunately. A player that maybe he's not a top 25 player, but I feel like deserves a shout is Franz Wagner, being the second guy there in Orlando. Great offensive player. We saw a lot of improvements from him last year, and if he can have like a great 3-point shooting next year, I could see him being a top 25 NBA player. But based off of his play from last year, and obviously injuries derailed it a bit, but based off of what I saw last year, he's not quite yet a top 25 player. And then the last person that I'll mention, even though like I think he's overrated, he deserves a shout out, and that's Jaren Jackson Jr., who had a great offensive season last year. The defense is still solid, even though I still think it's overrated, but he's still like a great defender. I just don't think he's a DPOY level defender. Um, Definitely not one of the best DPOY winners over the years. Like, how does he have that award and not Anthony Davis, not Tim Duncan? I think that's crazy, but yeah, like I have my issues with Jaren Jackson Jr. I talk about it all the time. Every time I talk about him, how he can't rebound or stuff like that. But he did have a great season. It was so great. Like, people were thinking that, the Grizzlies might be his team now. We'll see if that's the case. I'm sure with the new coach, maybe it'll go back to Ja's team, who I guess is another honorable mention. I didn't even really think about Ja, but yeah, Triple J deserves a shout out, I guess. Anything you want to talk about? Like, any surprises from what I said, or does it all make sense to you?
I think it all makes sense. I will mention that there were a good amount of the players that you listed that I also didn't necessarily think about. So I guess we're both guilty of that a little bit, in the sense like we both mentioned like very reasonable players. There were just a few that we both kind of forgot about, for example. And I will start by saying, for example, Chet, there's a good chance he could be a top 25 next year. I think one of the things is having still a lot to prove would be a reason that I would have him cut short of it. And I kind of almost forgot about Zion, not gonna lie. Because like he's definitely like talent worthy of arguably top 25 if he is fully healthy. The problem is a lot of times he's just not. And yeah, then we'll see now that he's slimmed down and in much better shape. Hopefully if he can stay on the floor, maybe he'll be on the list next year. So we shall see on that one. And then Franz, definitely good mention there. Spoiler alert, I actually have him on my list, but
Okay,
I could see
I was afraid you were gonna think I was weird for just having him in my honorable mentions, but he made your list. That's cool.
yeah. Now in the beginning, I thought about potentially like maybe not making him on the list. But then like I was also considering other factors like for example, the small forward list and all that stuff, and I'm like, maybe there's a way I can find him on here. So I guess there's that. And then who were who was the other player you listed just now?
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Oh yeah, Jaren Jackson. Yeah, I kind of forgot about him also, not gonna lie. But definitely worthy of argument because as you mentioned, still a really good, obviously one of the top defenders in the league. You could argue that he might be Memphis's new number one over Ja, even though I would still take Ja over Jaren Jackson if they're both fully healthy. But yeah, I could definitely see the argument. So overall, I would say not a bad list of players you mentioned.
All right, sounds good. I guess we're ready to get started and reveal our first chunk, 25 through 21. And yeah, let's see if we have some similarities or is it gonna be totally off. But yeah, I'm revealing my list right now. I'm like twitching right now. Okay. So I got mine ready. You got yours. Oh, okay. Okay, so, this is interesting.
A bit different.
Yeah, quite different. Quite different. You want to read off your list?
Yeah, I'll start with mine. So at number 25, I got Evan Mobley. Number 24, John Morant. 23, Trae Young. 22, Joel Embiid. And at 21, I have Kawhi Leonard.
On my list, I have at 25, Jalen Williams. 24, Alperen Sengun. 23, Pascal Siakam. 22, Evan Mobley. And 21, Karl Anthony Towns. Now, the thing that is most glaring to me is your where you have Kawhi and Joel Embiid, but to be fair, that's probably the two players that's like the hardest to rank.
Yeah.
I feel like to me, I had so much trouble trying to figure out where to put them because like talent wise, they both could be top 10 players, Joel could be top 5, but they're injured all the time. Joel had a really rough season last year because of his injuries. Um, and, with the minute restrictions, his stats were like super, super low. But, like, if he goes back to, regular minutes, if he's healthy, are we gonna be seeing MVP level Joel Embiid again? That's the
Yeah.
part where, like, I don't know. I hope so. Like, for his sake, I hope so. Um, but yeah, so I do have them higher because, like, again, talent wise, they're good enough to be top 10. I believe I didn't put them in the top 10, but I feel like their talent wise, they are good enough to be in the top 10. Um, but yeah, those two are definitely the hardest to rank. So, uh, I guess I'll have you go over your list, but, like, I am very curious on why you have them much lower than where I have them.
Yeah. So starting with Evan Mobley, so he had a pretty great contribution to the Cavs 1 seed last year. Obviously, made an All-Star appearance, one of 3 All-Stars for the Cavs last year. Pretty good season, one of the top defenders in the league, and I expect him to pretty much continue where he left off last season. Another great season for another Eastern, once again, top Eastern Conference contender. So Evan Mobley definitely had to be on my list. Next player, John Morant. So I think that the key thing for Ja is whether or not he can stay healthy. Last year, obviously, he struggled to do so. But when he's on the floor, obviously, we all know how good his peak is. Obviously, his athleticism. More so the previous season when he played like hardly at all, we saw the impact of the Grizzlies with and without him in terms of wins and losses. Obviously, this season they managed to once again. Honestly, the same thing holds true. I mean, I'm in the beginning of this season when Ja was healthy, Grizzlies were a pretty high seed, and then at the end, without him, they barely made the A seed. So, yeah, uh, the fact still holds that Ja's impact is immense on the Grizzlies winning and losing. Um, Next player, Trey Young. So, one of the things I recall for sure is like in a lot of those ranking videos, like point guards or whatnot, Trey and Ja are kind of like neck and neck. And 2 seasons ago, I would have, and even like before last season, I would have taken Ja over Trey. At this point in time, I take Trey more so because like Trey was hurt for a little bit last year also, but like I could depend more on him being available. So I think that's the main reason why I put him ahead. Also, obviously, like he's a better shooter. Um, and I would say like somewhat similar players, but also a bit different players too. So at the end of the day, I would say Trey due to his better shooting abilities and his more reliable of being available. And then comes the 2 injury prone players, which you mentioned not too long ago, Joel Embiid and then Kawhi Leonard. So starting with Joel Embiid, obviously last year he was not healthy. He had a down year. Um, was it a simply a bad season that he can recover from? Hopefully, but I just don't know. So that's one of the reasons why I ranked him this low. I felt like definitely had to still be in top 25. Um, but yeah, just very unpredictable his current state. That's why I have him pretty low on the top 25. And then comes Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, he has injury problems too, though obviously once he came back from the injury last year, per usual, he still was really, really good. Obviously now we know about the scandal that happened, off court issues. We'll see what happens there. Apparently, there was that report saying like they don't expect no like resolution or like result ruling until like All-Star weekend or some shit like that. I mean, we'll see what goes on there, but yeah. The question is, how will all that impact Kawhi's impact on the floor? I don't know. I mean, will it be a distraction or will he find a way to continue to hoop anyway? I would say he'll probably still be really good. Um, but the main concern really is injury. If he can like stay healthy, easily like top 15, I'd say. But because the unpredictability of like more reasons than one, that's why I have him this low. So those would be my players from 25 to 21.
All right, all right, for sure. It was interesting hearing your thought process with Kawhi and Joel. I guess spoiler for me, I have Joel over Kawhi, because of talent wise. I think Joel is the better player, but you have Kawhi over Joel because he plays more, right? That's what you said.
Um, yeah, though, like obviously, if we're talking about like previous seasons, then Kawhi probably plays less than Joel. But
That's debatable,
it's argue.
honestly. Yeah, that's
That's
actually pretty
actually
close.
that's actually very arguable. But I think that Kawhi did miss more games than Joel, like the other previous seasons usually. But last season, obviously, we know a different story. But yeah, I think yeah, honestly, I don't even know like who I would rank higher per se. I guess I just put Kawhi higher due to like past history, shall we say,
Okay.
which I feel like should kind of be irrelevant to 2025, 2026. But as mentioned once again, unpredictable players here. So
Yeah.
um yeah, tough to call.
I'm glad you finally saw the light. Trey Young over John Morant. I've been pushing
Yeah.
this propaganda for years now. It finally worked on you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of both players, but right now, I think I would have more trust in Trey due to less injuries and the more consistent shooting abilities.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll go over my list now, and I'll try to go through it somewhat quickly since we got a lot of players to go through. But we're gonna start with Jalen Williams. So, it's funny two people I was thinking of for the last spot, the 25th spot, were OKC players. It was either J Dub or Chet, and I ended up going with J Dub because I feel like we have a better understanding on his game since he isn't as injured as much, and he's done like a lot of impressive things throughout last season, becoming an all-star. When Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein were both injured, he played as their center and was doing a pretty good job at it. His defense was great, was able to make all NBA second team for defense. Had pretty good performances in during the playoffs. Like there were some duds, but I believe he had a 40 bomb in the finals. So like he definitely contributed for sure to a chip. So I would have felt weird if I didn't have another OKC player on the list. So J Dub ended up making it barely, but he made it. 24, Alperen Şengün, great center for the Rockets. You know, we do this all the time. We compare him to Baby Jokic, or we call him Baby Jokic because of the way he plays. And I don't care what Turkey wants us to do, calling him Daddy Şengün. That's weird. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry, Turkey. I'm not doing that. I'm calling him Baby Jokic. There's no way I'm calling him Daddy Şengün. That's weird. But yeah, Şengün is a solid player that plays similarly to Jokic. That's why he gets compared to him all the time. He is a great passer. Just a good offensive player overall. Like the stats aren't crazy right now, but he's still developing. He's still getting better. Defensively, so he didn't have a bad year last year. Like it was too bad. He actually played some great team defense last year. And it'll be interesting seeing him being with Kevin Durant, especially since there's no point guard anymore with Fred Van Vliet being injured. Şengün is going to be a vital piece to that playmaking puzzle. It's him and Amin Thompson that are going to have to play a big role. Hopefully reach Shepard as well, but we'll see about that. But yeah, if Şengün can up his like playmaking abilities and scoring abilities, I could see him getting a lot higher on this list. Next, I got Pascal Siakam. I had to put Siakam on this. Like that finals run, the playoff run he had was insanely good. Not the most consistent, I know, but he is pretty solid at what he does, which is just scoring the basket, play great team defense. It's those spin moves. Those spin moves are impossible, and it helped him not only lead the Pacers to the finals, but he was able to give Eastern Conference Finals MVP, which was pretty cool. And yeah, I just have a bigger admiration for his playing style and for his game in general after that incredible finals run. So he is in my top 25. Evan Mobley at 22. The number 2 guy, in my opinion, over there in Cleveland. A lot of people would actually argue Mobley's the number 1 guy because of his defensive abilities. Like, just so impressive that people people believe that overshadows like what Donovan Mitchell does on the offensive end, which I don't know if I agree with that. I definitely have Donovan Mitchell higher on my list. I do consider him the number 1 guy, but he's definitely the number 1 like defensive guy on the team. Like he is the best defender. Won DPOY last year. Is very talented on the defensive end. He's not just a shot blocker. He can guard perimeter players. He's very athletic, quick on his feet. So, yeah, shout out to Mobley. And then at 21, Karl Anthony Towns. Just a great, impressive scoring machine. One of the best 3-point shooting big men in the league. Has helped a lot for the Knicks, helped the Knicks become the best offense in the league. He definitely had a great impact for them. He still does those stupid fouls, and the defense is not great. It's actually like a problem, but offensively he's amazing. Deserves to be on the list. Maybe he deserves to be higher, maybe he deserves to be lower, but I think 21 is a solid place for him. So, any thoughts on what I just went over?
Overall, I would say a pretty good crop of players here. All of these players do happen to be on my... Actually, okay. All of them are on my list. I did have Siakam barely missing it, though.
No.
And yeah. I wanted to put him on the list, but there were ultimately a few guys that I just barely had over him. I will say this though, obviously with Tyrese out, he could certainly for sure be, if he's the true number 1 option for the Pacers this year, then I think he could definitely be in the top 25. So yeah, we shall see on that one. But the rest of these players I all have on my list. Many of them higher. Obviously, Mobley is lower. So, yeah, not a bad set of players you have here.
All right. I guess we can now move on to the next chunk. So this will be 20 through 16.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, let's reveal that to each other
through 16.
now. All right. I have mine up.
All right. Okay,
Mitchie.
let me paste it real quick. All right, here we go. So,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
quite so a few similar names, and then quite a few differences.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can start with my side. So at number 20, I got Franz Wagner. Number 19, Jalen Williams. Number 18, Scotty Barnes. Number 17, Paulo Banchero. And at number 16, Devin Booker.
For me, at number 20, I have Paulo Banchero, 19, Trey Young, 18, Cade Cunningham, 17, Devin Booker, and 16, Tyrese Halliburton. So, Tyrese is not going to be on your list, so we don't really have to talk about that. For me, the thing that's like surprising me the most is Scotty Barnes. Because yeah, I didn't even have him in my honorable mentions list. And seeing him this high on your list is very surprising. Like over Trey Young, I find that interesting. I could see an argument for like over Jalen Williams, over Franz, um, but over Trey, over Ja, over Evan Mobley. That's got me pondering a bit. But yeah, I guess you'll be able to explain that for me real soon.
Yeah, definitely will do that. Um, but yeah, I guess I can start by going from the bottom to the top. So starting with Franz. Last season, obviously, he was injured for a bit of the year. When he was available, he was pretty good. Obviously, made quite a jump from the previous season. In 2023, 2024, he had that horrible game 7 for the Magic against the Cavs, and he got a lot better from that. So, shout out to Franz for that. Um, Personally, Paulo is obviously still the number one option in the Magic, but pretty good sidekick. We have Franz here. So that would be the reason I have Franz on this list. Maybe could argue it should be lower or maybe not on it, but um, I think that he has the potential to possibly be better. So including him here. J Dub, obviously we mentioned how key of a contributor he is for OKC. He had that 140-point performance, as you mentioned, and without him, just who knows how this OKC team would be. They would probably still be really good, but missing a key piece like that would be a challenging replacement for sure. So J-Dub making the list for that reason. So now comes Scotty. So obviously, definitely there's an argument that maybe I have him a little bit high here. I think the main reason why I do have him here is due to like the fact of being a believer in him. Um, Now he did have like a little bit of inconsistencies and up and downs throughout his season. Like obviously, breakout rookie year, not the greatest sophomore year. Did pretty good again his third year, and then last year I would say pretty good. Also, but I think that the main thing here is I believe that he could rise up to the beat some expectations potentially. That would be one of the reasons why I have him this high. Um, Next player, Paulo. So Paulo Banchero, obviously one of the top the up and rising young players in this league, the number one option for the Magic, and he made some strides this season. And I expect him to continue to get better. So him and Franz could definitely be a very nice duo going forward, and the Magic could be one of the contenders in the Eastern Conference now that they were able to build that momentum from the previous year. And definitely think that Orlando can make some strides, and Paulo is going to be the reason. And the next player on this list, Devin Booker. So Devin Booker had a little bit of a down year last season. Obviously, Suns as a whole had a down year. They were expected to be a contender and make the playoffs. They ended up not even making the playoffs. So that was a huge letdown there. Obviously, now they traded away KD. Who knows how that team will be now? But yeah, I think that Devin Booker, he has the potential to definitely bounce back now that he doesn't have KD on his team anymore. He potentially has more freeness to I guess take control as like the number one option truly again, because obviously when KD was here, it was a little bit of a 1A, 1B situation. So that being said, I do think that Devin Booker will have a better season this year than he did last year. I don't know about the Suns of the team, but easily still a top 20, 25 player in this league. So that would be my list from 20 to 16.
Okay. A lot of the players, I've either mentioned or like I'm about to mention, like around the same range. But yeah, I guess you're really a believer in Scotty Barnes if you have him this high. For me, like I just gotta see a bit more from him, especially with this new lineup they have in Toronto, with Brandon Ingram being there. I just want to see that dynamic and see if that leads to anything, and whether or not Scotty Barnes will continue being the best player on the team, which I would assume so. He might not average the most points. I believe Brandon Ingram might take care of that, but he is far more well rounded. So if Toronto, make kind of a splash next year with Scotty Barnes leading the way, then I could see an argument for him being this high. But it's hard to predict that at the moment. But that's the point of all this, right? It's just trying to predict, trying to assume where these players are going to be by the time the season starts. So yeah, okay, all right. So I guess I'll go over my next chunk, starting at number 20, Paulo Banchero. I think he did a good job explaining how great he is. He is a pretty good offensive player. He might not be the most efficient, but the talent is there. He is a very talented power forward. Can do a lot with the ball in his hands, and if he's able to become more efficient, become a more efficient shooter, that's gonna help the Magic a lot. The Magic, they're suffering from the offensive end, and he's basically, him and Franz are the powerhouse. But if they could improve, and adding Desmond Bane to the mix as well, if those three could get it going and be efficient, then I could see the Magic doing some damage next season. But yeah, shout out to Paulo. Next, I have Trae Young. Been kind of glazing him for a bit now. I've been fighting for him for a bit. I like Trae Young. I don't know why I like him so much, but like he is a very talented player. He is an incredible shooter, can shoot from deep. A great playmaker as well. I think that really came through last season and has helped players like Jalen Johnson improve in his game. Not the best defender, but that the Hawks are doing a great job surrounding Trae Young with great defenders. Dyson Daniels was a DPOY contender. Jalen Johnson is a pretty good defender. Zachary Ricochet didn't have a bad season on the defensive end his rookie season. Now they're gonna have Kristaps Porzingis to block shots. So this upcoming season is going to be very interesting, and there's a lot on the line. If Trae Young isn't able to pull off a great, stint with the Hawks next season, if like they end up being pretty mid, um, I could see him being lower on the list. But if he could lead this team to the playoffs, to a fourth seed even, um, I could see him being higher on this list. It all depends on how well they do and how important Trae Young is for the team's contributions. So yeah, I have him there. Next, I have Cade Cunningham. A bit more well rounded than Trae Young. Like even though I like Trae Young, Cade Cunningham is more well rounded. That's why I have him over. I think he's a better defender, better playmaking. Maybe is debatable, but he's still like a decent playmaker, decent offensive player. Not as good as shooting as Trae Young, but still pretty decent. Better rebounder. He could do a little bit of everything. He's a bigger guard, so that helps him out a lot. And he was able to help the Pistons make the playoffs for the first time in a bit. Yeah. He had an impressive season last year. I'm sure he's going to continue doing great next year. At, 17? I have Devin Booker. Last few seasons was a bit weird having Kevin Durant there. The 1A, 1B situation didn't quite work. Now he's for sure the number one guy. He's surrounded by players like him, like Jalen Green. How is that going to work out? I don't know. But I'm sure that he is going to be great next year. I'm sure the playmaking is going to be amazing as well. He's improved on that aspect of his game. And although, he's a shooting guard, he shouldn't be playmaking as much. The Suns should have a point guard for him to set him up because of the lack of point guard. At least his playmaking skills has improved a lot. So I don't know if that's a W for the team, but that's a W for him. So yeah, there's that. And then I have Tyrese Halliburton here. I feel like him leading the Pacers to the finals in like the greatest way possible. Like this man had game winners or game tying shots every single series. It's mind blowing. Like that's something that MJ's never done, LeBron's never done, Kobe's never done. This man was the one that was able to get it done. He is probably the best playmaking guard in the league. And when he gets going, he is an incredible 3-point shooter. Could go lights out, especially in the clutch. So, although he's not going to be playing next season, I gotta give him some love because that run was incredible, and he was considered the most overrated player last year, but you can't say that anymore. He is ultra talented, incredible player. So yeah, that is my chunk. Any thoughts on what I just went over? What I just said?
I would say for the most part, just to say that it was a pretty good chunk of players for sure. All of these players, aside from Tyrese, due to the fact that he's not playing this year, are on my list. Obviously, if he was playing, he would be on this list. And a lot of the key points you mentioned about him are obviously like very accurate. The fact that he had such a legendary playoff run, made a game-winning or game-tying shot in literally every series. Very tough to do what he did. But yeah, for the most part, I think that all these players are very worthy of being on the list. Many I have mentioned already, and then a few that will be mentioned later. Or I guess that would be one player that I haven't mentioned yet. So there we have it. I think we can probably move to the next set.
All right, let's do it. We'll reveal our next chunk. We've made it to the top 15, so that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, anything surprising? Okay. Interesting. That's what I'll say. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, go over your list.
Okay. So at number 15, I got Alperen Şengün. Number 14, Anthony Davis. Number 13, Karl Anthony Towns. Number 12, Kevin Durant. And at number 11, Donovan Mitchell.
For me, at number 16, this is where I have Kawhi Leonard. Not 16, 15. At 14, Joel Embiid. 13, Anthony Davis. 12, Donovan Mitchell. And 11, Jalen Brunson. I've got questions. I am curious on what she did. I don't want to spoil anything though, so I might just let it ride and just have you explain your thinking. I guess the only thing that I will say that won't spoil anything is, I guess, two things. Two things that stand out right now. Having Anthony Davis under Karl Anthony Towns is kind of crazy in my opinion. Like, I know Cat is a better offensive player, but Anthony Davis isn't like a scrub on the offensive end. And defensively, ooh, AD is incredible, while Cat not so much. He's a cone out there. So that's one of my things. And then the other thing is Durant being here. I feel like he should be in the top 10, but I'm also curious on who you have in the top 10. So that one, like, maybe it's valid, but at the moment, I'm like, I a little sus, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering. But yeah, do you want to go over your list right now, or what you want to do?
Oh, yeah, I'll go over my list. So, starting with Şengün, obviously last year he had a breakout season, made the All-Star, and was key contributor to the Rockets, and was the best player last year, probably the second best player now due to KD. But yeah, key contributor to the Rockets team, and expect him to continue to get better. I think it's safe to say that him and Sabonis have officially swapped their placement in the Charizard evolution. Um, Now comes the next player, and soon to determine what you said, um, Anthony Davis. So I think that one of the things about AD here is obviously the fact, like, his injury unpredictability. When healthy, his undeniable how great he is, like on both sides of the floor. Um, Obviously, his shooting wasn't the same as it once was. Like, for example, during the 2020 bubble run, he was shooting pretty damn good. Now, like, I think his 3-point percentage is not very good, unfortunately. But like, he's still able to do like really good and other assets, like obviously huge lob threat. Mid range is still respectable, and obviously his rebounding and defensive abilities lights out. But yeah, I think that the injury unpredictability is one of the reasons why I have him a bit lower. And going on to Cat now, so for what you say, for example, Cat also, and AD is definitely obviously better rebounder, better defender. But I think that one of the key reasons why I have Cat higher is due to the fact that he just doesn't seem to be he's not as injury prone and seems to be on the floor more often. And last season, for example, when playing, AD obviously was really damn good, but obviously like Cat did have like one of those breakout seasons, and his playoff performance, um, maybe he didn't show up as much as you would like against the Pacers, for example. But like in most of the other series, he was able to show up big when the Knicks really needed him to. So I think that the key here is more so due to the fact that like one player could be dependent on being available a little bit more than the other player that just seems to get banged up more often. And then KD. So I think that what you said definitely very good argument that he still should be in the top 10. I do think that he will take a little bit of a step back though. And I will say this, it's not necessarily the fact that I think he's going to take a step back, it's more of a fact that I think some of these other guys are going to take a step forward. Um so ultimately KD, I think he's still going to be really damn good. On the Rockets, he'll probably be a good fit. And will they be the second seed? I mean, tough to do that again with a completely different team, but it's very doable. So KD will definitely be a good reason why they would make it back. Um, so then that leads to Donovan Mitchell, who had a really good season last year. I expect him to have another good one this year. The best player for the number one seed in the Eastern Conference last year. Um, yeah, I think that he will continue to embrace the number one option role for a very good team contending in the Eastern Conference, and potentially maybe take advantage of the Celtics being shorthanded without Tatum, and maybe take it all in the East and make a finals run. We'll see. But yeah, I think that Donovan Mitchell for sure will continue to do great things. And so that would be my list from 15 through 11.
Okay, I feel like I got a better understanding on like the Anthony Davis versus Cat one. I don't agree, but I understand it a bit. Um, and yeah, the Durant and Mitchell one, like I feel like Durant is much better than Donovan Mitchell, but like I could see your point where like Durant is older now, even though it doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon. Father Time does you know work his magic, right? So will he have a down season next year? We'll see. We'll see if this is his Celtic Shaq season. But to me, it's hard for me to imagine that for Durant. I feel like he's gonna have the longevity similar to LeBron. But I guess we'll see. We'll see if that's the case. But yeah, I'll go over my list. So this is like definitely one of the more interesting portions of my list because of my placement of Kawhi Leonard and Joel Embiid. I basically threw them in like the middle of the pack here because, again, like these two could be top 10 players. Joel Embiid could be a top 5 player talent wise if we're strictly talking about talent. But we have to consider injuries a bit, right? And they're gonna miss some time for sure. And because of the injuries, that could have an effect on the way they played. It did for sure last year with Joel Embiid. I feel like he could bounce back from last year. That's why I'm like not putting him all the way at the bottom because how he played last year, I don't think would consider him to. I don't think I would consider him a top 25 player based off of how he played last year. But because I do believe he can still be a great player, I have him in the middle. I have him at 14. At 15, I have Kawhi. He's older, right? So that's something that we have to keep in mind. He's always injured. Will he even like care to play basketball because of the things that's been going on. Like that, those are all things that will have an effect on Kawhi, um, going into the season. Ideally, he just goes out there, plays, tries his best, and he'll end up being like a top 10 player. But I don't know if we could count on that. So that's why I have him at 15. Um, I talked about Joel Embiid, so let's skip over to Anthony Davis at 13. Um, who, one of my favorite players in the league for sure. I'm sad that he's with Dallas now. Um, so I do think this is very funny. I don't know if you saw or heard, based off of Media Day, but Anthony Davis gained some weight. He apparently gained like 15 pounds. Um, and I just find that so ironic that like the player they traded, Luka, was traded because he wasn't fit and he ended up losing weight. Well, Anthony Davis, the guy that they traded for, ended up gaining weight. So I think that's hilarious. Um,
That's pretty funny. I actually didn't see his media day picture though.
he does look a little chunkier. Like, um, maybe it was just a bad photo. Like that happens, right? It happens to me all the time. I feel like there's photos where I look extremely fat, and then photos where I'm like, okay, just kind of fat. But yeah, there was some pretty bad photos from Anthony Davis, and the weight thing. I'm very curious on that because he's getting older, and he wants to play power forward, right? If he's gonna play power forward, ideally he shouldn't be gaining too much weight, right? He's not gonna be a center. He's not gonna be taking screens all the time. He's not gonna be just in the paint. So they need him to be more agile. They need him to be running around, playing help defense, and the extra weight might weigh him down. So yeah, that's definitely something to look out for this season. Um, but yeah, I have him here a little lower than where I had him last year, just because of like the new teams, the injuries, and like the other players impressing me. That's why I have him a bit lower than I did last year. I think what did I do last year? I had him at I have it right here. I had him at 11 last year. He's at 13, so not too far down, but uh, he's lowering down on my list. So there's that. 12, I have Donovan Mitchell. Best player on the Cavs, in my opinion. Very great offensive player. Always comes through in the playoffs. Led the Cavs to a number 1 seed last year. I don't think I have much else to say about him. Just a great offensive player. And another great offensive player, Jalen Brunson at 11. Helped lead the Knicks to the conference finals. Helped lead the Knicks to the number 1 offense in the league. He can't play defense to save his life, but he is on the shorter side, so that's kind of understandable. But yeah, his bag is so impressive. The way that he's able to score at his size, I just find it very impressive. So he's right outside of the top 10 for me. Yeah. Any notes? Any thoughts here?
Nothing too crazy aside from the fact that obviously you put Embiid and Leonard way higher than I did. And I mean, it's not that much I really have to say about that because, like as mentioned, like very unpredictable players, and so it's really hard to decide where to put them. So the fact that you put them in the middle is fair, I think. Um, yeah, but yeah, I see one of the things you did was three injury prone players listed across the board in a row, which is kind of funny. But we all know when they're healthy, all of them are really good.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, overall, not too much to say. I think all of these players are definitely top 15 worthy. Obviously, a few of them debatable depending on their health. But yeah, aside from that, don't have too much.
Okay.
I think we can move to now the top 10.
Top 10 time. Top 10. Let's let's talk about the top 10. Okay. I'm pulling up mine. So there's some players that I noticed that you haven't mentioned, but I believe you do have on your list. So if they are on your list, I will honestly be very shocked. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay. That's very interesting. Read off your list.
So at number 10, I have Cade Cunningham. Number 9, LeBron James. Number 8, Jalen Brunson. Number 7, Victor Wembanyama. And at number 6, Steph Curry.
For me, at number 10, Kevin Durant. Number 9, Stephen Curry. Number 8, LeBron James. Number 7, Jason Tatum. And number 6, Anthony Davis. What is, like, honestly kind of bothering me. Like, I'm very shocked you have this player this high. Is Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham, a top 10 player, in your opinion? That's honestly shocking, and I do want to hear from you about that one because, like, wait, okay, so you have him over Donovan Mitchell, who led his team to the number one seed. I guess he had more help. So to be fair, he had more help. You have him over Durant, who's more polished as a player, over Anthony Davis, who's better on both ends. So, like, I'm very curious on why he is this high for you.
All right, so let me start by mentioning the side by side comparisons of the players you listed. Um, so Mitchell, arguably better for sure. Ultimately, I put Cade because I feel like he definitely has a very high ceiling of continuously getting better, and obviously mentioned the fact that he helped a Pistons team that was porous the previous year to triple the win total and make their first playoffs in a long time. Um, Very impressive there, and I think he'll be able to continue to keep building. Um, as far as the comparisons to KD, for example, I mean, I kind of already mentioned that, or the fact that he's aging, still really good, but he's getting older in age, and I feel like he's not necessarily going to be the same player that we know him of. Like, so at this day and age, like, I would argue that taking a Cade Cunningham would be like a better solution. Now, if you're saying win now, it's debatable, but I would think like the youth part of it would be one of the reasons I put him higher. And then as far as AD, for example, both sides of the floor, impact for sure, undeniable. But once again, I think that the injuries is one of the things that like makes it very unpredictable for me there. And Cade has had his like injury problems too. But I think that like not as like crazy unpredictable. And the fact that he's like younger, faster legs and all that, I think he'll continuously get better there. So definitely could say that a little bit high here, but going with my gut based on the potential. So then the next player, LeBron. So obviously he's not necessarily the same player as he once was, but still easily a top 10 player. And we all know it. Like he obviously now going from like the number one option to the number two option, one hell of a number two option still. Obviously now he is entering year 23, and he is going to be turning 41 in hardly just under 3 months from now, and looking like no signs of father time defeating. That's definitely very impressive for sure. So LeBron definitely still a top 10 player. Next player, Jalen Brunson. So I think that you could definitely have an argument that maybe Jalen Brunson is a little bit high, but personally, I think that his clutch gene ability is what really put him over the top for me. And obviously, like the best player for the biggest market, NYC, and pretty much embracing the role very nicely. I think that definitely deserves a lot of high praise there. So Brunson, easily a top 10 player. So then comes Wemby. So thing about Wemby is obviously freakish body. He is obviously really tall, could move pretty good, and he can shoot threes, and he is a elite shot blocker. Obviously last year's season got cut short due to injury, but he is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with years to come. The reason, if anything, the reason why I don't have him in the top 5 is because I feel like there's just room to see him get even better potentially. And there's some other guys I think are just more polished. That's why I have him just outside the top 5. And so then that leads to Steph at number 6. So he's another guy, still very elite, obviously. One of the most dangerous players to guard whenever he shoots the ball. It's scary as an opposing team because you just think it probably very well is going to go in. That being said, obviously he's another one of these players that is aging a little bit for sure and not necessarily showing signs of decline. And we'll see how the Warriors mesh this season. Obviously, running it back with Jimmy, and then finally got the Kuminga situation settled for now, even though they might still try to trade him. But yeah, Steph is easily a top 10 player and barely have him missing the top 5. So that would be my players from 10 to 6.
Okay. So although I do not agree with the Cade Cunningham placement at all, at least he came through with some arguments. Like you made some valid points, I'll say, even though I don't agree. You did come through with a good argument for the most part. I am curious. I think you already said it. I think I know why, but Jalen Brunson over LeBron. You have him over LeBron because of clutchness. Is that it?
Younger,
Okay.
more mobility, clutch gene, and I feel like in this day and age, like if you're gonna ask like which player would you rather have on your team, you could argue maybe LeBron still due to like legacy and whatnot. But at the same time, like LeBron being like older now, getting injured a bit more, like I think that a lot of it here definitely has to do with clutch gene and youth, with the being the main reason I have Brunson higher.
Okay. I would still choose LeBron over Cade even at his age now, because he's far more well rounded. Like he might not be a better shooter, but offensively he's like still on par, maybe a little worse, but around the same area as Brunson. LeBron's defense isn't the best. It has pissed me off in the past. It's still far better than Brunson. Um, LeBron's a better playmaker, rebounder. So to me, LeBron should be higher. But Brunson is younger. That's definitely very helpful. Um, he's not like that young either. Like he is like kind of a late bloomer. So uh, he's not that young, but still younger than LeBron. Um, but yeah, that one I would switch. I would have LeBron over Brunson for sure. But yeah, okay. I'll go over my list, starting with Durant. Um, yeah, still one of the most impressive scorers in the NBA. He makes it look so easy the way that he can score any part of the court, basically. Like the mid range game, the 3-point shooting, like it's still like very, very impressive. Um, he could play some defense too. Like he is a decent shot blocker, which is kind of surprising, but you know, I guess that's the case. Very curious on how he will be playing for the Rockets. The Rockets need someone like Durant to carry the offensive load, and if he's able to do that, then yeah, the Rockets are gonna be scary. It's gonna be tough without Fred though, so I don't think they are automatically like title contenders anymore. Like I felt like before Fred was injured, uh, it's like OKC and the Rockets on top. But now I've got more question marks. So we'll see if Durant is able to, you know, make this team into a title contender even without Fred. But yeah, over him, I have his former teammate, Stephen Curry. A bit more spry, a bit more impressive offensively, especially from three. This guy is still the best 3-point shooter in the league, even though maybe statistically that's not the case. Statistically, it might be Anthony Edwards. I still think Curry is an extremely impressive shooter. I think the whole NBA still believes that's the case. And yeah, like we saw in the playoffs without Curry, the Warriors were like lost. They didn't know what to do. So Curry is still very important to winning basketball, even at his older age. Speaking of old, I have LeBron James, the oldest man in the league, still one of the most impressive players in the league, still a top 10 player in the league. He's not as athletic as before. He might not be a great shooter as before, a great defender, but overall, he's still pretty good, well-rounded player that can do a little bit of everything and hopefully be a good and useful, like, I guess, sidekick. Surprisingly, is LeBron. He's not sidekick, but he will be this season with Luka on his team. So hopefully they can make some magic and win us a chip. I would love to see that. Over him, I have Jason Tatum. Obviously, he's not going to be playing, but if he was playing, he would be for sure over LeBron. Jason Tatum just continues to improve his game, and he has become a very well-rounded player. He can play great defense. He is obviously a great offensive player. Pretty good shooter. Wish that he drove a bit more because he is so fast, strong, and athletic that those are easy buckets for him. But sometimes he just settles for three. He could rebound. He could play make a little bit. He could do it all, honestly. So yeah, since he's been improving a lot in like every aspect of his game, I feel like it's finally time to say that he's better than LeBron, which is kind of kind of weird to come out of my mouth, but it is what it is. We'll see if that's still the case after the season because he'll be coming back from injury, but LeBron will also be like another year older, so yeah, we'll see if that's still the case. Probably, but I'd be shocked if Jason Tatum became worse than LeBron in like a year or two from now. Okay, and then at 6, I have Anthony Edwards. He's improved a lot on his 3-point shooting this past season. That became one of like the most useful aspects of his game, and had a huge impact on the Timberwolves in a positive way. Um, Great scorer overall, very athletic, could get a nasty poster here and there. Pretty good defensively as well. Not a lot to say here, except that he might be now that I'm thinking about it, he's probably the best American player in the league. It's up there with him and Tatum, but because Tatum's injured, uh, Anthony Edwards takes it for me. So he's at my number 6, and he is the best U.S. player in my opinion. Any thoughts?
I think for the most part, nothing crazy here. All of these players are super worthy of being in top 10. Obviously, Tatum being injured is the only reason why I don't have him here. And then obviously, you listed a lot of the older legends, Braun, KD, and Steph, and then Brunson just barely below, and Ant, who I actually would probably, I think I have to agree with you, the best American player in the league, because a lot of those other top players happen to be international. So there's that. Overall, I would say not a bad collection there. So I think we are now good to go to our top 5.
Top 5 time, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure our lists are gonna be super similar, and I already know the biggest difference, but it'll be fun to reveal and see what we have. And okay, so there's only one thing that surprises me on your list, but I'll have you read your list first before I talk about
Yeah,
that.
I will say there's one thing that somewhat surprised me from yours too, based on what you said in the previous video, but I'll bring that up later. Okay, so top 5. Number 5, I have Anthony Edwards. Number 4, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Number 3, Luka Doncic. Number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And at number 1, Nikola Jokic.
And for me, I have at number 5 Victor Wembanyama, number 4 Luka Doncic, number 3 Shea, number 2 Giannis, and number 1 Nikola Jokic. And yeah, okay. So for me, the shocking part is that what was the shocking part? You have Luka over Shea. I was pretty
I knew you were gonna
sure.
say that.
I was pretty sure you had Shea over Luka during our point guard episode.
Didn't you have Luka over Shea in that
No,
one,
no,
or you didn't?
I, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to put Luca over Shea, but I
Mm,
ended up putting Shea over Luca because Shea won Finals MVP. MVP was the scoring champ last year. Um,
mhm.
Won a chip while Luca was injured last year. So
Yeah,
I felt like
I
I
do.
was forced to put Shea over Luca. That's
Yeah,
why on this list I have Shea over Luca. But in my heart, Luca's better than Shea.
yeah. I do remember you saying the Luca is actually better than Shea as an actual individual player part. So I guess that was a part that like shocked me a little bit. But I guess without further ado, I can get to my arguments and then you can mention your part.
Okay.
Um, so number 5, Anthony Edwards. Obviously, we mentioned top American born player in the league. Was able to bring the Timberwolves to back-to-back conference finals appearances. Unfortunately, his team just didn't necessarily show up when it mattered most at the end, and they got steamrolled in back-to-back conference finals. But that is not to mention how big of an impact Ant is able to lead his team and the league by storm. Now making back-to-back conference finals. Who knows? Maybe next step is eventually making the finals and hopefully win one day. Um, Next player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So obviously coming off MVP season and Finals MVP. There's talent undeniable here, and years to come, he's going to be doing great things for a very great OKC team, and you could just tell they're more than likely going to win more championships for sure. Right above him, Luka Doncic. And here's like the controversial, debatable part, because like I think one of the things that we can agree on potentially is like if we're talking about individual talent, both healthy, both at peak, Luka has the higher ceiling than Shai as an actual individual player. That being said, obviously, like Shai does have the better team, the more complete team, and so having the better supporting cast is he's set up for success more conveniently than Luka, having to have more strides and we're having to work through more growing pains to get there. So that being said, this was a tough little ranking between the two. Ultimately, I think I went with the better individual talent than the overall team impact. So I guess that's the reason why Luka Magic over Shai. So then obviously the top two is pretty much set in stone, no debate. Giannis, obviously, Giannis and Joker. You could argue like 1A, 1B, maybe Giannis could be better in some situations, maybe Jokic better in some situations. Ultimately, I put Joker ahead due to the fact that he I think like because like the fact like the man has like obviously NBA champ, both of them NBA champion, both of them and Finals MVPs. Obviously Joker has won a few more MVPs and got snubbed a few times, could have even more. And ultimately speaking, they're just so neck and neck. But Joker gets the slight edge, and so that brings the undebatable 1A, 1B in the NBA right now. And so that would be my top 5 players in the 2025-2026 NBA season.
All right, not much notes here because our lists are super similar. I guess I forgot to mention this, but another key difference is that you have not Shai, Anthony Edwards at your 5, while I have Victor Wembanyama at my 5. Our Anthony Edwards placements are not too far from each other. And I guess the Wemby placements isn't too far from each other either, but I guess I'll ask you, why do you think Anthony Edwards is better than Wemby?
So I would say this: I think he's more polished because like Wemby's only been in the league for 2 years. The fact that like based on his body build alone, he is practically by default in the top 10 because of his capabilities. But that being said, obviously he's only been in the league 2 years, and last season he got cut short. So I just don't see myself able to put him ahead of Ant, who has proven more and made 2 straight conference finals. So that's the main reason why I have Ant higher.
Okay, yeah, that's very fair. And like I had Anthony Edwards like right behind him. If it wasn't gonna be Wemby in the top 5, it was gonna be Anthony Edwards. So yeah, that checks out. That makes a lot of sense. I was just curious why you did that, but yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'll go over my top 5 and then we'll end things off. At number 5, I have Victor Wembanyama. What a freak, dude! This guy is insane. Just super tall, super skinny, super athletic, super talented. This man is an alien, an alien. He can shoot the ball from 3. Even as a super tall center, he's still pretty decent at shooting the ball, at scoring from the post, at Defending, he's already like the best defender in the league. Averaged like 4 blocks a game his rookie year. That's crazy. He's only gonna get better, especially after having an off season like what he had. This man was trading with Hakeem Olajuwon. Kevin Garnett was in China with the monks. Was bald even. Participating with all that. Like, this guy's gonna come through and just destroy the league, as long as he's not injured. Which, I don't think he's the type of player to be injury prone. Right? It's still early to say that. His career just started, but it's something to look out for sure, So hopefully that's not the case. I want to see him play as much as possible. So yeah, he's at my number 5. At number 4, unfortunately, I do have Luka Doncic. Any other year, top 3 player in the league. But Shea just had such an impressive season that I have to put him lower than Shea. Luka was injured quite a bit last year. Because of that, he didn't make the All-Star team. Because of that, he didn't make All-NBA. Last year was just a downer season overall because of the injuries, because of him being traded to the Lakers. He was a bit heartbroken, but he seems to be ready. He seems to be He seems to be ready to bounce back and come through for our Lakers. He's lost some weight. He just seems determined. So I wouldn't be surprised by December, by the time that we make an update and do another top 25 NBA players ranking. He could be my number 1 guy. He's that talented. So, Luka is at 4, but in my heart, he's at 3. At 3, though, like for real, is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. For all the reasons I already said, he won a title. He won MVP. He won Finals MVP. He's scoring champ. He's a great defensive player. One of the best players in the mid-range. What else am I supposed to say? He's just a great player on both ends of the floor. So is Giannis, who's number 2. I still think he is better than Shea. I think he plays a more important role defensively. And offensively, he is he might not be as talented, right? There's a reason why they call him run and dunk man, but you can't stop him when he's running and dunking. He's one of the most dominant players since Shaq, which is crazy to say, but I think he is the most dominant player in the NBA since Shaq. And yeah, I just hope next season isn't too bad for him. I don't think Milwaukee's going to be winning anything anytime soon. So it will be a very interesting season for Milwaukee and for Giannis. Seeing if he actually stays there. We'll see. But yeah, the team is not looking good. But he's amazing. He's incredible. Number 1 is Nikola Jokic. He's been the best player in the league for so long. There's an argument that could be made that he deserved the last 5 MVPs. I think he deserved it for last year. Last year when he averaged a 30-point triple-double. Are you serious? A center averaging a 30-point triple-double didn't win MVP? That's insane. That's insane to me. I know he didn't have a better team record, but dude, he was more valuable in my eyes, I feel like. But yeah, one of the best offensive players of all time, one of the best playmaking, for sure the best playmaking big of all time, but one of the best playmakers in general of all time. He's really up there. I think at the end of the day, he'll be up there with the Magics, the LeBrons, as one of the greatest playmakers of all time. I don't have much to say. This man is one of the most legendary people to play the game. Just very impressed with him. So yeah, that's my list. Anything you want to say before we wrap things up?
Not too much, honestly, aside from like the clear obvious difference is the fact that you have Wemby while I have Ant, and then you have Shea ahead of Luka. Um, Not too much, honestly. Now I will say, since I told you my reason of why I put Ant ahead of Wemby, do you have a specific reason why you chose Wemby ahead of Ant?
Yeah, for sure, he's the better defender. Like he's a center, he's going to be the better defender. But like I feel like the way you see Cade Cunningham, right, with all his potential, it's like similar to what I see in Wemby. Like I think he's gonna be the face of the league, and as Jokic ages, I feel like he will be the best player in the league. Um, Maybe in like 5 years. He has the skill set, the body, the athleticism. He has it all. He just, you know, gotta play and keep playing. So that's why I have him over Anthony Edwards. And also like the position as well. I feel like the center position is very important. It's like I feel like point guards and centers are like the two most important positions. And if your best player is a point guard or a center, you could get a lot done with your team. While shooting guard, not so much. You know, it's very rare for like a shooting guard to lead a team to the NBA Finals. Obviously, some of the best players of all time are shooting guards, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. But yeah, I guess it's those two and Dwayne Wade that are like the only shooting guards that won a Finals MVP and led a team, you know, to a chip. There's probably more that I'm forgetting, but it's like those three. Well, throughout history, you know, centers dominated the league. The best player in the league right now is a center. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my thought process behind all of that. Maybe a little random, but you know, I do believe Wemby is going to be better than Anthony Edwards if he's on the floor.
Okay, fair enough. Obviously, my opinion there is a little bit different, but I could see where you're coming from. So, not mad at it, honestly.
All right, cool. So that is our ranking of our top 25 NBA players for this upcoming season. I guess we could like do a quick, you know, speed run, a quick recap on our list. So hoops, who are the best the 20 let me start over. Hoops, who are the top 25 NBA players for this upcoming season?
So, at number 25, I got Evan Mobley. Number 24, John Morant. 23, Trey Young. 22, Joel Embiid. 21, Kawhi Leonard. 20, Franz Wagner. 19, Jalen Williams. 18, Scotty Barnes. 17, Paulo Banchero. 16, Devin Booker. 15, Alperen Sengun. 14, Anthony Davis. 13, Karl Anthony Towns. 12, Kevin Durant. 11, Donovan Mitchell. 10, Cade Cunningham. 9, LeBron James. 8, Jalen Brunson. 7, Victor Wembanyama. 6, Stephen Curry. 5, Anthony Edwards. 4, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. 3, Luka Doncic. 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And at number 1, Nikola Jokic. So those are my top 25 NBA players of the 2025-2026 NBA season.
And for me, at number 25, I have Jalen Williams. Number 24, Alperen Sengun. Number 23, Pascal Siakam. Number 22, Evan Mobley. Number 21, Karl Anthony Towns. Number 20, Paulo Banchero. Number 19, Trey Young. Number 18, Cade Cunningham. Number 17, Devin Booker. Number 16, Tyrese Halliburton. Number 15, Kawhi Leonard. Number 14, Joel Embiid. Number 13, Anthony Davis. Number 12, Donovan Mitchell. 11, Jalen Brunson. 10, Kevin Durant. 9, Stephen Curry. 8, LeBron James. 7 Jason Tatum, 6 Anthony Edwards, 5 Victor Wembanyama, 4 Luka Doncic, 3 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 2 Giannis Antetokounmpo, and at number 1 I have Nikola Jokic. So those are our lists. This was a lengthy, fat episode, but it was a fun one to do. Just like a recap of like all the work basically that we put in these last few weeks. Just to, this made for like a good finale. So yeah. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on the video. If you're on YouTube, subscribe if you really enjoyed it. If you're on audio platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. Check out the socials. Hoops, anything you want to say before we head out?
Pretty much just mirroring Memo's words per usual. Appreciate you guys for the constant support for our channel. We greatly appreciate it. If you guys like our content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, follow us on all platforms, and make sure you continue to stay tuned because we are slowly approaching the start of the NBA season. And matter of fact, I believe that the first preseason games literally are tomorrow, which at the time of this recording just struck 12 a.m. on Thursday morning. So safe to say, basketball is practically back. And yeah, before we know it, and the NBA regular season will be here. So make sure you guys continue to stay tuned and await our bangers per usual and look forward to what's ahead. Thank you guys and have a great rest of your day and or evening, whatever you are watching. Take care.
Yeah, we'll see you all next week. Goodbye.